Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today we welcome a special guest from Red Fox Labs. That's Arc Lego. You're a bit of a legend in the gaming industry, Benny tells me, and they recently appointed you head of the gaming division. So congratulations.
Yes. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and it's really exciting to be here.
And I wanted to talk about, well, a bit of your background. So you said that you were raised in an arcade, and I know a lot of subscribers to the channel are into the gaming space. I think it's going to be huge. So do you want to talk about your background, how you got into gaming?
Well, I've been gaming my whole life. I started when I was very young. Earliest memory I have is playing a Nintendo, playing Galaga. It was my older brothers, and I just played my entire life and always wanted to make games for a living. I finally jumped into it when I was 21 years old, 22. Got my first job as a game tester at Sony, and then worked my way up the ranks from there, and have been a game designer for 7 years now. Um, Game designer, senior game designer, lead designer, creative director. And my most recent game that I worked on was H1Z1, and both the survival game and the battle royale game.
Yeah, and Benny tells me you've got a long list of achievements, so feel free to self-promote here, mate, and tell our audience the other big projects that you've worked on and been part of.
Yeah, so before H1Z1, there was PlanetSide 2. I was a level designer on PlanetSide 2 and made close to 100, and if not more, bases for that game. It was really challenging. It's a massive multiplayer, tanks, aircraft, and infantry with multiple factions all fighting against each other, basically recreating massive war. And, before that, I worked on a game called Free Realms, which was a kids game, and kind of learned my chops on that one. And I've been a QA tester on multiple games, including EverQuest. And it's just been a lot of fun learning all about the gaming industry and just kind of figuring out what it takes to get to that next level with each new project.
How has that gaming space changed? I've certainly seen it mature in my eyes as someone that doesn't even follow that closely in the last few years. But how small were these teams and, the money going into this 10, 20 years ago versus what we see now, competing with movie production and so on?
Well, it's interesting you say that because even 10 years ago, or even 15 years ago, it was mostly the big MMO boom. You had EverQuest, you had Ultima Online, and then, of course, you had World of Warcraft. And all of these MMOs cost a lot of money to make. I mean, these were huge production games. And so they would have big teams with high costs, but if you had one that took off, it paid off. So it's gotten crazy now. Some of these big blockbuster titles that aren't even MMOs, they're just single player games or small multiplayer games, have these huge budgets. But it's cool. It's cool to see our industry kind of grow and get closer and closer to the entertainment industry and the movie industry. We've actually surpassed them in total revenue. I think. I think the video game industry made more money last year than the entertainment industry, but it's just great. It's great to see. We still have a long way to go. I think our industry is still very small and has a lot to learn.
I think one of the things that took me down another rabbit hole was learning about how graphics cards work and the fact that we now have the quality pretty much as good as real life and high frame rates and everyone's got good internet. So do you think it's a combination of just the perfect storm that's really made this so attractive for people? Or, yeah, what about the number of people that are playing games? It just amazes me.
Yeah, it's great. We actually have, in my opinion, just started taking off. The plane is finally taken off in the mainstream. For so long, it was such a bad connotation when you would say gamer. A lot of people would give that person a hard time, or if you told your parents you want to be a gamer, they would think you're crazy. And now with the recent success of games like Fortnite, Minecraft, I think video games now are more accepted, and it's really cool to see. And they are getting better. The graphics are getting better. It's starting to look more and more like real life. But honestly, if the game is just fun, I don't think it really matters what it looks like as long as people are having fun playing it.
Yeah, I think South Park might be responsible for that stereotype of a gamer. But now you think about it, you think of these huge tournaments with people watching and guys earning heaps of money. But you raise a good point that it's a spectrum. We've got these little fun mobile games and kids games on iPads. So the possibilities as a business are pretty endless, aren't they?
Yeah, I think people like you and me, close the older mid-tier generation, we really like games that look really good. But the kids, they don't care, honestly. They really still like Super Mario, they like Minecraft, they like Roblox. They like games that just are fun, and something that they can connect to.
Yeah, when you say even 10, 15 years ago it was big, maybe I'm showing my age. Maybe I'm sort of thinking 20 plus years ago when we used to spend the afternoon
Yeah.
on the Super Nintendo. So let's talk about the current state of the gaming space, particularly in blockchain. So how do you think it's heading in the direction of the mainstream in the games? Is that heading in the right direction? Or do you really think that it's more interesting, there's more possibilities going down the blockchain space? And then we'll talk about AR and VR later on as well.
Well, I think the blockchain space is really intriguing and interesting right now. It's the main reason why I went over to Red Fox. I wanted to look at all the opportunities in front of me, and the one that Red Fox presented was the most interesting and intriguing one that I thought had the most promise for a good future. The blockchain space is so new. A lot of people in my industry are barely talking about it. And I think that once we start making games utilizing blockchain security and transaction speeds and financial transactions that are secure, just to name a couple of good technologies that will use it, these other industries are going to have to play catch up, and you kind of see that with our industry. You'll see some first movers kind of go and establish the technology or establish the genre, and then the big guys will jump in. So that's fine with me. I don't care about being a first mover. I love being a first mover, and I love, I'm going to love the opportunity at helping Red Fox get this blockchain gaming off the ground.
Yeah, and I remember playing games in the early days where you couldn't even save the state of your game. And then we've got better and better. But now what blockchain enables is saving the state, but also interoperability, sort of a multiverse, they're starting to call it. So I think the older generation of investors can't grasp their head around digital scarcity and how important this is to players to be able to save their experience or their sword and then maybe use it in another game. So do you want to talk about why that's so attractive?
Well, that's actually a new concept that you talk of. I think that just now, the PC gamers, PC gamers are ahead of the curve than console gamers and then even more mobile players. And the PC hardcore crowd is just starting to really grasp the idea of digital transactions, digital items, understanding that these digital items are going to be worth a lot someday, wanting to collect them and transfer them from game to game. And there's not really that out there right now. I can't really buy, a skin that's a gun skin in Counter-Strike and then take that gun skin and go play it in Fortnite. Yeah. And that doesn't exist. And I think blockchain will help that be able to kind of fill the gap there so people can actually invest in these digital goods and these digital items with confidence and not have to worry about not being able to use them one day.
And obviously you guys are building on Komodo with Red Fox Labs. So we've had Benny on the channel. It's a fantastic incubator that's hopefully going to spit out a lot of interesting businesses in all sorts of industries. But do you want to talk about specifically how the team is being formed around to build on Komodo? Because at the moment we have a lot of people building on Ethereum with those standards. But I know Komodo is also a lot about interoperability. So what's the hope there going forward?
Well, at least for me, the hope is I want to make sure that we create a game, first and foremost, that's really fun to play. It's fine that a game can use all of the bells and whistles of a blockchain, but if the game at its core isn't very fun, it's just a tech demo. It's just something that people can say, oh, look, this is what blockchain can do. I think we've seen that already. I think we need something that is fun to play that's also using blockchain technology. I think that's why Benny kind of brought me in to make sure that we make something that's really solid, that's also really fun to play. And so players can start to see why blockchain is being used more than just always talking about all the things that we can do with it. So all of the tech that Komodo has is really awesome. It's really great. We're going to utilize it to the fullest. All the technology that we're going to use with RFox and the RFox tokens, being able to use those as rewards, currency, it's all going to make the experience better. But first and foremost, we have to make a fun game.
Yeah, and let's talk about the Red Fox token a little bit because everyone, first question these days, people have become very skeptical of coins and its use case. But in gaming, where it's an international arena, microtransactions, cross-border payments? Is that the sort of main utility, or what are the extra functions as well?
So we want to use them for anything for rewards being handed out in the game, currency being able to spend, anything that you transact with in the game itself. We want to be utilizing the RFox token. It's kind of the whole reason why we want to kind of utilize this technology in the first place. It's games have for a long time used digital goods, but they are a digital currency that is not, it's meaningless. It's only good for that game. It doesn't have any purpose other than that game. They're diamonds or gems or, name anything you want. It's been in games for a long time. So now with blockchain, let's use a real currency. Let's use a real token, and let's give that out as rewards to people. Let's give that out as ways for people to invest in the game. It's going to be really fun to utilize. I can't wait to learn all about it. I can't wait to jump on board and really dig in and dig my heels in on this tech and how we can utilize it in the gaming space.
Yeah, fantastic. I want to ask you a little bit off topic here. Are you familiar with the story of Mount Gox and how the Magic the Gathering online exchange came about?
I am. I did research it when I first got into crypto. I started researching it, and I heard about the whole exchange and Mount Gox and how it was a trading Magic the Gathering trading card site, or it was where you would buy Magic cards. I don't remember what it was used for initially, but I did hear about the whole big scandal.
And even as early as 2012, I believe there was still free Bitcoins, or maybe 2011, free Bitcoins in World of Warcraft, which is just crazy to think about now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a tweet from 2013 where I'm like talking about Bitcoin and going, I don't know what this is. Why do I need one? I don't understand it.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, everyone feels like they're late, but as you say, I think in terms of gaming and crypto, it's only just getting started. So do you want to discuss augmented reality and virtual reality? Is that something you guys are looking to include eventually, or do you think this is a little bit overhyped buzzwords currently in the industry?
I don't think it's overhyped. I think that they both have very separate use cases. People who are into virtual reality are into virtual reality, and people who are into augmented reality may not realize it, but they like the easy application use of it when it's presented to them. Of course, you have the diehards who love augmented reality, but I think AR has a more presentable case to the masses than VR currently. How we want to use it, how we want to utilize it, it's still, something that we want to discuss. It's still something that I'd love to talk with Benny about. Right now we're really focused on the RFox currency, the RFox tokens, the technology that Komodo uses, and being able to turn that into a really fun experience. But you never know, down the road, or even after we discuss what we want to do, there's tons of applications that we can utilize with blockchain, AR, VR. Why not, right?
So how's the interest been? Have you guys still early stages of putting together the team, or have you had a few partnerships and a bit of interest already?
So Benny definitely handles all of the business side. He's the one, behind the wheels on the machine turning constantly. I've been talking to those guys on the staff, basically focused 100% on the gaming side. I've been sending them pitch decks about ideas of what we want to create. They've been getting really excited about it. And I actually can't wait to go over and meet those guys. Hopefully that can happen real soon here. You're catching me. I think I joined a week ago.
Yeah.
So it's really early, but it's really great to, just brainstorm currently.
Yeah, well, just so you know, I mean, I probably became friends with Benny 2 years ago, and I like Komodo. I think they're one of the quite hard-working projects. And then about a month ago, he said, Nugget, all this is about to get pretty big, and we need a media partner listed as a YouTube channel. Do you guys just want to have a handshake agreement and cover things that you think are interesting or whatever? And I said, yeah, definitely. So it's all very new for me as well, mate.
Yes. Yeah. And this is the type of environment I thrive in. I love being able to learn about all this new technology. My head just starts going through all kinds of ideas as soon as I start learning about it. And I just want to utilize it, how it can be applied to gaming. It's just, that's really what I want to do really badly. It's like, I can't wait.
It's an absolute rabbit hole. So what's the sort of first task for you now? What stage are you at, and what's in the near future?
Well, in the short-term future, I'm definitely going to be working with Benny and the guys at Red Fox on, the execution of the idea that we want to create. I don't want it to be one of those things where I feel like I'm going in and dictating every single step of what we should create. I want to present some ideas to those guys. I want to see how they riff off of them. I want to see what their interests are. And then I can take that knowledge and excitement and kind of hone it into what we should be making. And then once we know what we make, we just get our team together and we start building. And that's the fun part. It's the hard part, but it's also the fun part.
Yeah, and I think you've got a better chance of success in this industry than a lot of others when we look at the centralization versus decentralization, because we see Google and other big tech companies starting to get into this space. But I think I want to get your thoughts on gamers, millennials. They've grown up with versions of digital currency. They're digital natives. This is all really familiar, and I think this is the real chance we have to build a fantastic industry with those people who have a lot of say rather than just the big tech giants farming all our data and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, just on the state side, gamers in the US are really familiar with digital currency if they've ever played an MMO, right? If they've played World of Warcraft or EverQuest or any of those games that came out, they all thrive off digital currency. And you care about how much digital currency you own in those games. The console crowd is starting to figure it out. They're starting to realize that it's a big deal. I think the mobile users are way far ahead of the console crowd in terms of digital currency. And then in the Asian market, digital currencies are like way ahead of the States. Like I feel when I go travel to Asia, I feel like we're way behind. So it's really smart of Red Fox being based out of Southeast Asia to tap into that market first, because that's a region that's already really used to dealing with digital currencies, especially on mobile. And so when that applies to a game, it's going to be a really easy crossover. There's not a lot of explanation that you're going to have to do. So that's a big hurdle.
Yeah, and as someone that's sort of got the gaming focus rather than the Bitcoin crypto focus, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin? It goes through these huge cycles, these booms, busts. Are you interested in money and all that sort of thing as well?
So I first started getting into crypto because of Bitcoin when my friend showed me that it was at $5,000. Because I remember years back being told it was like $100.
Yeah.
And I was like, I finally was like, okay, I'm just going to learn about this. And I got so sucked into it. So while I love watching Bitcoin's charts, go crazy up and down by the hour, I like looking at all the other technologies as well. That's how I found Komodo. That's how I found Benny on his YouTube channel, Bitcoin Benny. Is because I was looking at all the other tech. I wanted to see what was out there, and I really wanted to learn a lot about it, and I'm glad I did, because I would have never found Benny and I would have never been a part of Red Fox. So I while I do care about the financial side of it, I'm much more concerned about the technology side and how we can apply it to make a really fun game.
I completely agree. So I'm actually a pharmacist by trade, and we've tried to cover as many industries as we can, including healthcare, because as you say, this isn't all just cryptocurrency. It falls under that umbrella, but I really hate it because they really should have nothing in common, but they all move up and down with a 90% correlation or something. And game is something I probably haven't focused on enough. So I want to look to invest in a good mix of good projects and definitely keep talking about what's happening, because I just see it as such a huge industry, and we're going to really have this, I think, overlap where it comes into our everyday lives in terms of augmented reality, looking at your fridge or whatever. Do you kind of agree that you're not going to be a gamer at all? It's just going to become part of our everyday lives?
Well, what I see is a lot of people utilizing really basic game systems in their apps, where people don't realize they're playing a game, right? There's a lot of fitness apps right now where you have goals and you could level up, and it all looks like a video game. But to the person who is a fitness guru using their app, they don't realize they're playing a video game. So that kind of thinking is going to apply itself to all those augmented reality systems, or hybrid VR AR systems, where if you're wearing a headset that you can see through still and have AR, it's always going to feel like a game. So I think gaming is going to play a huge part of it in the beginning to make fun games that are just for entertainment. But then those systems that get created for gaming are going to be utilized across the space for other technologies as well.
Final question. I want to finish on something a little bit fun. So I finally got around to watching Ready Player One, where people live the majority of their lives in that world. And The Matrix is my favorite movie of all time. So do you have any thoughts on if we're going down that path where we're going to live too much of our lives in these virtual worlds, or if we're in that simulation theory sort of from a higher perspective?
So I've thought about this a lot, actually. Great movies. I like both Ready Player One and Matrix. I know some people didn't like Ready Player One, but I enjoyed it a lot. Um, I actually think that we're going to be okay. I think that there's enough unique people in the world that have different views and different beliefs and different hobbies that we'll be able to balance each other out. For every hardcore VR Matrix person who just wants to live in the Matrix world, there's going to be some guy who just likes to walk on high wires across mountaintops.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be okay. Being in that middle part where you want to be kind of like, you know, a gamer at night, adventurer by day. I think it's going to be really fun to utilize all the technology that we have available to us. I couldn't be more ecstatic to see how the next 20, 30 years are going to play out. I think it's going to be really interesting.
So am I. So I've really enjoyed our conversation today. I'll put the links in the description below for you guys to follow all Red Fox's work. And I'm hoping to have more brilliant projects and updates on the channel now we've partnered with you guys. So thanks so much for joining us today.
Of course, thank you for having me. I couldn't be more thrilled to talk about gaming, especially gaming and blockchain.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us, Arclicker. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.